Hello, dear friends and viewers. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Civic Education and Study Abroad. My name is Dr. Mercy Achan, and today I'll be presenting to you part 3 of our video comparison of the American and Cameroonian system of education. And in part 1, we actually saw the Cameroonian structure of education or system of education. We said that it is made up of 2 subsystems, the English subsystem and the French subsystem. In part 2, we saw the American system of education, which is also dependent on the state and the district. So today we are going to be looking at the comparison of the 2 systems, which is our part 3. So if you like our video, please like it, share, and subscribe. So hit the subscription button to subscribe to this video. So let's move straight to the comparison. So right here we have 2 charts. There is a chart on my extreme left, which is the Cameroon system of education. On my right is the American system of education. So at the bottom of the extreme right chart, which I made, the green shows the nursery part, and the age range is between 3 to like 5. So the same thing with the American system of education, where you have the nursery, preschool, and then you go to kindergarten. So the difference between the nursery and kindergarten is just an age difference. So again, remember we're looking at ages between 3 to 4, between 5 and 6. So that will just depend on what school district you're working with. So let's look at the next step. When you're done with nursery, the next thing is the primary school or the elementary school. So the primary in Cameroon and the French system both have 6 classes from class 1 to 6, or from cours préparatoire to cours moyen 2 for the French people. And once you're done with primary school, you take your end of primary school exams. And when you pass these exams, then you're good to go for your secondary school. In the American system, you have the elementary school, which is still in blue. It is either you make 8 years, 4 years, 6 years, or 6 years. So I'll talk a little bit about this elementary or primary school system in the US in a little bit. So let's look at the secondary school system, which is right here in orange for the Cameroonian subsystem. So for the English subsystem of education, you have from 1 to 5. So from 1 to 5, you can write your GCE ordinary level, and or you can, and once you write your GCE ordinary level and you succeed, then you're good to go to high school. And then for the French subsection, then you have 4 years, then you do your BEPC, and then if you succeed, you go to second, and then from second, you go to your high school, which is premiere, where you take your probatoire, and then subsequently the final exams, which is back. If you do technical education right here, then you're going to do 4 years, do a cap, and then go to Form 5 or second, and then where you do the GCE technical for the English education. So that's it. And then, or for those parents who don't have money to send their children to school, they can send the children to go to a vocational or technical school. Some of them are 2 years, or the child can go learn a trade, and their children that learn how to sew, they learn how to build, just different kinds of trade. However, the same happens here in the US. Let's go back to the elementary and move up. So you do an 8 years elementary and then 4 years high school. That's the 8-4 system. Or you do 4 years elementary and then you're going to do 4 years in middle school and then 4 years in high school. Or 6 years in elementary school, 3 years junior, and then you're going to go to high school. And then you have 6 years elementary, and then there's a combined junior senior school. So the last segment in the Cameroon system of education is just going to be your high school. The high school in Cameroon is mostly 2 years. For the English speaking, you have the lower SIF and upper SIF. Then the child takes the GCE advanced level. When they pass, they are ready to go to the university. So that's the degree that allows, that's the diploma that allows a child to graduate from high school. For the French general education, they got to take probatoire in premiere, or that's their lower SIF premiere, and then in terminal, they're going to take the bac. So once you have your baccalaureate, you're good to go to the university or higher education. The same thing with the technical. So technical, once you're in high school, lower SIF, for Francophones, Premier, you still have to take your Baccalaureate Technica, and then you at Terminal, you're also going to take your GCE Advanced Level Technica or BAC Technica, Baccalaureate Technica. So once these exams are all done, then you're good to go. You're good to go to the university. So a rule of thumb here is that we have like a 2-year system generally for high school. However, in the US, it varies. So you have 4 years high school, okay? So from 9th grade right up to 12th grade, that's 4 years high school. That's for the 8-4 system. And then 4 years high school for the 4-4 system, and then 3 years high school, okay, in some districts, and then some school districts have up to 6 years where the child is in combined junior or senior high school. So you see that the system is quite different for especially parents that have not understood how the American system of education looks like, and they're planning to travel to this country with their children. This is an eye-opener for you to know how to situate your children. Or those people who are back in Cameroon and they want to understand how that system of education works, this is also an eye-opener. So your mind can begin to tell you the differences between the two, structures of education. So I'm only talking about the structure of education. I'm not going to be talking about the pros and cons of which system of education. That is not what I am interested in. I just want to show us how the structures are different. So let's go now. Now that the kids are done with high school, what's next is higher education. So this is higher education. This is a Cameroon system of education, and this is a US system of education. So the child leaves high school, can either do diploma programs where they can do an HND or get a professional degree, or they can go to a professional school or do a bachelor's degree. Generally, bachelor's degree are 3-year programs in Cameroon. However, lots of students take more than 3 years to complete their bachelor's degree. Whereas in the US, when a child finishes high school and goes to the university, as a rule of thumb, most US universities are 4-year programs, not 3 like Cameroon. So, but they also have one thing, they have junior or community colleges. So in the US, there are community colleges that you can go to, and then all vocational technical institutions. So vocationals are like 2 years, 3 years programs. And most children who leave from vocational schools, they just go get a job and they don't need to bother about continuing universities and all. And they don't worry about school fees, loans, and things like that. So once you are done with your bachelor's degree, then you're good to go for master's. Again, one thing that I want to raise that is fundamentally different between the US and the Cameroon system of education is, if you are planning to do medicine, I know a lot of people like doing medicine or go to medical school, you have to have a bachelor's degree in the US. Once you have a bachelor's degree, then you can access medical school. Unlike in Cameroon, that you can just finish high school and then you go ahead, take an entrance exam into med school, and then you go train for 7 years in med school. So that's a little bit different, as per the US system. So again, let's go back and look at the masters. So Cameroon has masters 1 and masters 2. So people can actually do a masters 1, and if they don't have the required GPA, or then they can go to do masters 2. Masters 2 actually comes with a thesis, so unlike masters 1. And then we also have postgraduate studies. People can do postgraduate studies. That depends. So those are just programs that have no thesis. You don't have to defend anything. Or you can go to a professional school. So there are still professional schools that are available, after your bachelor's degree. Yeah, like higher ENS, you have to have, a bachelor's degree to access higher ENS. So once you have your master's and a thesis defended, then you can now, if you have the qualifications or a professor that's interested in you, then you can, apply for doctoral studies and go get your doctoral studies. And from your doctoral studies, if you're still interested in research, then you can move on to your postdoctoral studies. Now in the US system, now you're done with your undergraduate school. So once you're done with undergraduate, and you can either go to grad school or go do something professional work. There's so many things that people can do. So, or you go to grad school and do a postgraduate diploma. So when you come out with a postgraduate diploma, it's not attached to any research. So you have a master's, but it's just a postgraduate diploma without research. Or you can go to professional schools, like I told you. So here you have the medical school, School of Theology. There are also nursing schools and many other things that you can do. So you can do nurse practitioner, you can do a master's, you can do a PhD in nursing, all of that is available. So once you're done with your postgraduate, you can, if you choose to, you can continue to a master's degree and do your master's. So to actually apply for master's programs, that's from undergraduate to graduate programs or master's degree programs, there is a procedure to pursue. And we're going to be talking about those procedures and what to do to make yourself successful. Remember, we said opportunity meets preparedness. So when opportunity meets preparedness, doors will open. If you prepare yourself in the right way, then the doors will open for you to apply to graduate school programs. So with a master's degree, you can now apply for a doctorate degree. I know a lot of people in the US, once they get a master's, they get a job, they're gone, they're working, they're fine. So they don't want to stress themselves to come back to do a doctorate degree. So if you're somebody that is very interested in research after your doctorate degree, you can go ahead and do a postdoctorate and research. For me, I had to do a postdoctoral degree. So I finished with my PhD in geology, and then I went to chemical engineering, now petroleum engineering, and I did my postdoctorate there in University of Oklahoma State University. So that's just a few things that I want to talk about here, and hoping that we would proceed. And if you have questions, because I know this kind of like this calls for lots of questions for you to chew on, look at how the systems are different. I want to apply, what should I be doing? So I'm going to talk about that subsequently, but let's see what's next. So what's coming up next? I want to look at the generalized US calendars and deadlines. So when I talk about generalized US calendars, a lot of times students want to apply to schools in the US. They don't understand when to send in their applications. So what is the deadline? I'm going to be talking about that. How do I find the deadlines? How do I look for estimates in fee? Those are things that will be coming up in subsequent videos. What is the difference between tuition and fee? I got so confused when I came here with all of that. So rest assured, I'll walk you through, and I'll also be telling you my story in grad school so that you can learn from me and not make the same mistakes that I made when I was in grad school. So here I want to say thank you for taking your time to listen and watch this video. If you like our content, please click the like button, share, and subscribe to our channel. So click the subscribe button, and then that's it. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting you in our next video when we talk about the generalized US school calendars. So thank you for listening.